What is the crack, guys? It is Nathan here, aka the Rambling Kern, and head instructor of Kern School of Combat. Right everyone, just adding in this brief disclaimer. So I had originally edited this in the video, but I had to shoot the intro about 5 or 6 times due to some noisy neighbours. This X pattern and this technique that you're about to see is not present in either of the two existing styles. So it's not present in the Dora style or the Antrim style. There are diagonal strikes, however they are not taught this way, and this is not representative of either styles. This is simply a tool I use to help develop power with a beginner before you move on to other techniques. This is quite a fundamental technique to understand for that purpose, but just to clarify, this is not present in either style and it is not representative of those styles. Like I said, I had edited that in originally and just wanted to clarify that. So anyhow, back to the video, and I hope you enjoy. So I am in a very privileged position to have been able to study both of the surviving styles of Irish stick fighting, and as a result of that I've studied numerous other styles in order to gain a good kind of understanding of stick fighting. And I've had many requests online, and I've seen through a number of various forums that I'm on many people looking for basics and kind of online lessons in Irish stick fighting due to the inability to either get to lessons themselves, or just being somewhere remote, or just having a interest in how the art works and the kind of ins and outs of it. So I'm doing this series as a very basic intro to stick fighting and Irish stick fighting, to give people the tools to kind of understand what the art is about. This will not be a in-depth instructional, because you cannot get a proper understanding of these arts without doing them in person. There's many little nuances, there's many little techniques that just won't translate properly if you're watching them. You do need to just practice with someone. So while I do occasionally teach online, I do highly recommend that you go to a class and train with someone in person. That being said, this series is going to cover some of the most important fundamental lessons. I have timestamps to the video, so if you want to skip to that section, feel free to do that now. So today's lesson is going to be on the downward X. You'll see that in a moment in detail. Basically, this is in numerous different styles, and this is a very fundamental lesson, because if you cannot swing hard and swing fast, you will be in a very bad place. Regardless of all the fancy techniques you might learn, without having the basics down first, you will be in trouble. It's as simple as that. So this is where this lesson starts off, and this is why I picked this as lesson number 1, because it is the most important and fundamental lesson that you can learn. So if there are any future videos that you guys are interested in me making, do let me know. I'll be more than happy to do it. Just leave a comment below. So now, without further ado, on to the lesson itself, and I do hope you enjoy. So in both styles of Bata, the stick is gripped the same, with a thumb on top grip. So the thumb and the pinky play a very important role in working together to allow us for quick snapping motions that are common in both styles. We don't want to go with the conventional hammer grip, and we don't want to grip too tight either. We want to have a nice, comfortable, yet relaxed grip where we can snap at the last moment to really send our strikes out, but also where we're not going to tire our hand. Next up, I wanted to highlight once again that we do not want too light of a stick to work with. So we're not like this kind of light bamboo cane where we can whip it around. That's not conducive to good practice. We also do not want a stick that is too heavy. So we don't want something like this club for numerous reasons. One, we could injure ourselves. We're not going to be able to switch direction. Our form's going to be very sloppy. People will tend to think a heavier stick is better. It is not. You want to find something that's practical and usable for you. This is the technique, the downward X. So you want to think of this X as being a narrow X, not a wide one. I'll discuss why later. But first off, I'm just going to show you with the padded stick how this looks. So as you can see, I'm keeping the stick quite tight and quite narrow as I swing the stick side to side. Now these are going to be two of your most powerful shots, so it's important to get this technique correct and to get it moving fluidly. As you can see here, I'm just keeping that nice and tight to create that proper angle. So here you can see the technique being done with the rattan stick and done with the third grip. Now it's important to get this strike fluid, and it's important to understand how to do it with the third grip as well, and then adding additional momentum into it. So as you can see here with the blackthorn stick, as you get comfortable, you can twist the shoulders and drop the hips to really add in weight and power, as you're about to see now in a second. So that swooshing motion shows that the stick is moving at high speed. Next up, we're going to see some of the things that you can do wrong. So one of them being that you swing too far in either direction. So swinging across ourselves will expose our arm, and swinging the other way will expose our elbow. These are both things you really want to be careful of, which is why you want that tight angle. If you swing too wide, you're going to expose too much of your body and open yourself up for return shots, and that puts us in all sorts of danger. We also want to make sure when we're swinging that we're not just using our arm. As you can see here as well, when I swing across myself, almost pointing my elbow at my opponent, that opens me up for all sorts of return attacks. So it's something with this technique that you do want to be careful of. You can also simply use this on one side, so one side of that X. And this is a very useful technique to get comfortable with, just swinging from one side or the other. It doesn't necessarily have to be both sides of the X. Here's another few common mistakes we can make, that we overswing, or we rotate our body too much, or we lean into the strike. This is very common when people are beginning and they're trying to throw a lot of power into it. Rather than using their body weight and twisting the body and dropping with the hips, they tend to lean too much into it. The other can be rotating the shoulders a little bit too much, and some people will also tend to just use the arm purely. We want to rotate the body and drop the weight into it for proper power. So another little nuance of a third grip stick is that we have to make room for the third to travel past us. So as you can see here, depending on the side I go to, I need to rotate my wrist ever so slightly to allow the stick clearance. Now, I'm showing this purely so that you can see how this moves. Obviously, depending on how you've swung your stick and depending on what you're doing in that downward X pattern, this is going to be slightly different. Basically, depending on where the stick finishes up. Kicking an Irish stick, this is essential to get used to. A few of the things that can go wrong when swinging with a third grip. The first one, a very common one, is that we catch our forearm with the stick. Obviously, if we're swinging really hard and extending our arm, this can actually kind of hyperextend our elbow, so this is something you need to be careful of. Another one is that we allow the stick to go too far inside or outside of our wrist. So inside, as you can see here, or outside, as you see here. Really common when you're first learning. So something to kind of keep in mind of, and that's where the wrist roll comes in to allow us to control our stick and use it effectively. So guys, I do hope you enjoyed that video. Like I said, this is a very, very important thing to understand and get used to. It's a very fundamental technique, and a very important thing to understand how to generate power in our shots. I've seen people of a much lower skill level beat people of a much higher skill level purely through just having a good understanding of this. The basics of any martial art, hugely important, and it's key that you get them down. If you like any further watching on this, I really do recommend checking out the Dog Brothers series on this. While this is an art based primarily on Filipino stick fighting, they do have some amazing information, and I really do recommend checking out their videos, which I've linked below in the description. Obviously, there are certain nuances when it comes to using an Irish stick, especially with our third grip, which is going to be something that I will cover in future videos. Like I said, this will be an ongoing series, but it won't be a very regular one. So if there are specific things that you'd like me to discuss and specific topics you'd like me to go over, please do leave a comment below. I'll be more than happy to do them. Like I said, this isn't any substitute for real in-person face-to-face training. So if you're interested in classes, we use them every Tuesday in Dublin. I'm more than happy to also arrange private one-to-one classes too. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel to grow, and it really helps me to continue making these. So I hope you enjoyed, and slán.